Um, Churro says, "Are you waiting for God of 4 to exit beta to start early access?" I'd like to get it started as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Once it's more stable, and like the crashes at the moment are not the same kind of crashes we had in alpha, so it's already better.
Mm.
I want to start recording. There is a decent chance that I will have to start recording from scratch if they change the UI or something major, massive changes. We are in a feature lock right now, in feature freeze.
Yeah.
So they're not going to add more features.
But they may change the UI still, because that's not a
And
feature change.
a
That's just a
lot of code has changed in God of 4. Like the actual
yeah.
function calls have changed, the methods. For example, for today in Spooky Bricks, I got a copy to Mikey. I went and checked it, and it didn't run. And the reason it didn't run is in tile map, world to map is now local to map. Easy change, but you got to go through and redo it again.
Yeah.
In a video, that's not really the kind of thing you can patch over, right? You have to
No,
redo that
because your code is going to be
module.
persistent in every lecture after that.
Right. And if I sit there, if you sat through a 10-minute video when I've gone world to map, world to map, world to map, and then the next video is like, hi guys, they just released a patch. I'm not going to re-record this video. Instead, just go back and change it to local to map. Bye. Yeah, you're going to be really happy with me.
So it's always a choice we have to come at from various different angles depending on what has changed. So one of the big things that have changed when Blender 2.8 came out, and then there was a change. I think it was between 2.8 and 2.81. They changed remove doubles, which is where you have two vertices and they're
Uh-huh.
overlapping, and you can merge them into one. And they changed it to merge by distance. And that obviously threw a load of people out, because it's something that if you're joining geometry together and optimizing, it's something that you're going to do time and time again. And I've repeated it lots of times through. And even with a patch saying this is now called merge by distance, it's what you need to look for. It can cause something like that anyway. Can cause a huge spike in support questions, all asking, because even though you've said, oh, this is now called merge by distance, nope, the next video you say remove doubles, so someone's going to ask where's remove
Especially when
doubles.
you're dealing with beginner content,
Yes,
because
exactly.
it's the same reason I don't use different color schemes in Godot. I'd love to, but I want my screen to look like the vanilla layout. So if anyone hasn't changed anything, they're not comfortable exploring the menus and finding everything, they'll see what I see.
I at the beginning of all my Blender stuff, and I apologize now for, because it's going to be the same in every Blender course. I always have at least one lecture that is why mine looks different to yours, including the subtitles, because I have had people asking me, and it's part of the course, but that you go through and you will have people asking, oh, cool, what's this theme that you have, or why have you got these key presses appearing, how do I get that? Well, if they're explained at the beginning of the course, it's then answered, even though it can feel a bit repetitive and a bit redundant, because ultimately it's to help the learner, not for my aid, because I know what buttons I pressed.
Vertex Rage says, I actually think many people don't even try to Google stuff before asking for help. Yes, but I'll point out that Google is a great resource if you know how to phrase the question.
It's very true.
And if you're brand new to something like coding or Blender, it can be really challenging to understand why it's not working and phrase the question in a way that Google will understand it.
Yeah.
So, yes, but that's not always their fault.
And I will stick my head out here and actually say that one of the best things that I've told everybody to do, that how to ask good questions, can come across quite condescending to some people. Of course I know how to answer, but letting us know as instructors, not just us but any instructor or teacher, letting them know what you've tried, what has worked slightly, what has not worked, etc. And then you don't end up with this back and forth that basically says, I'm stuck. What are you stuck with? This. Well, what about that? And you end up with this backwards and forwards, and it just delays getting to some solution for a student, which is frustrating for not only the student but us as well. So, I'm
I
having a
mean,
problem with my variable. Oh,
a course on how to use
spelling
Google.
usually.
Um, we have had courses on how to ask questions, or not course, but a lecture. Like, what if you need help? How do
Yeah,
you do it?
yeah,
And one of the first things we say is go to the Discord, because it's one of the downsides to online education, right? We have many, many, many students across different platforms. We can't physically give them personal one-to-one tuition when they need it. It's something you could do better in a classroom. And even there, your time is going to be split between
Yeah.
10, 15, 30, 50 people. Um, but in a video setting, you just can't.
Yeah.
Like if you've got
Yeah.
3,000 students on a course and they're all got individual problems, you really need a community where people can help each other and then can escalate to you if it needs changing, which is what we try and encourage.
Static
Will
typing.
any of the courses touch on static typing? Yes, absolutely they will, because it's a really good, well, first, knowing what it is and when to use it. Second, the auto
Mhm.
completion you get from it. And third, in Godot 4, there's a speed boost from using static typing.
Yes.
So yes, we will talk about that.
Yeah, I think that's true. A lecture on how to ask questions is different, and inverted
I mean,
it's been
often
very helpful.
one of the recurring things you get, especially in coding, is people say it doesn't work, and they'll say, my ball doesn't bounce. It's like, could you post your code? It just they just don't know
Or
to do that.
they don't know, for instance, how to format code, so it comes through without
Right.
the correct spacing,
And
um,
none of
or
that is
formatting.
necessarily them being lazy or not wanting to. It's
Mm.
they don't have that expertise. They don't know that there are many, many different ways something might not work. So if I see your code, I can go through it.
And often it's a missing semicolon, or you've spelt color with an
Thankfully, not
O
in Godot.
and not an
We don't use
OU.
semicolons
Or
because those things,
indentation. That's the yeah.
indentation, absolutely.
Or you've got one too many parentheses at some point. It caught me out today when I was coding with Python. I was like, "Why is this
Godot
not
is
working?"
pretty good about not running if something's wrong. I
Mhm.
was using a programming language the other week where if you did a conditional, if you were doing a for or an if
Take
rather,
care.
an if statement. Enjoy. If you're doing an if statement, you could do if x equals whatever, and it would pass, and it would run, and it would fail silently
Oh,
because
yep.
it wouldn't flag you mean double equals.
Oh, I'm
Those of
very
you who've
deliberate.
watched me teach know I do a lot of typos, and yeah.
One of the things that I've gotten in the habit of is when I say equals, I mean double, obviously, and when I say assign, when you're assigning a value, I specifically say assign rather than using the name of the character that you're using, because then it's very clear, and it certainly helps me stay very clear as to what I'm actually doing. Am I assigning a value to a variable, or am I actually equivalency if I'm actually making something equal to something else?